Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey there, Stackers. I am on the road coming to see you. I'm headed north right now. In fact, I'm at a Love's Truck Stop in Little Rock and realized I've got news for you about our event. So next Tuesday, I will be in Cleveland, Ohio. So Cleveland on the 14th, we're going to come see you. That's at 6:30 at Bookhouse Brewing. Come see us. Great brew house. Emily and I were there for my book tour a couple of years ago. And guess who's coming with me? OG has agreed to come with me. So Cleveland, come see OG and I Tuesday night. By the way, for all of these, stackingbenjamins.com/meetup. On Thursday, the 16th, I believe, once again, at the truck stop. Next Thursday, I will be in Detroit. So Detroit, come out. We're going to be in fabulous Ferndale at an awesome place called the Ferndale Project. It's the sister microbrew of the one at Easter Market that we were at just a couple years ago for the book tour. Love their beers. We're going to have a great time. We got an area reserved for us. Going to be some fun. Neighbor Doug's coming with me. So again, stackingbenjamins.com/meetup. On Friday, we have, thanks to Stacker Jim, we've got tables for 20 people in Kalamazoo, Michigan, where I'm headed for yet another graduation. So Friday night, 6:30 at a place called The Hub, downtown Kalamazoo. Great place. Jim talks fondly about it, as do my friends who are still in Kalamazoo. So come join us then. And then the following week on, I believe it's the 23rd, that is Thursday, celebrate early the beginning of Memorial Day with me, my daughter Autumn, my son Nick, and the amazing Paula Pant could join us. 6:30 in Malden, just north of Boston, at a place called Faces Brewing. And we're going to have some fun there. stackingbenjamins.com/meetup. Anyway, great show for you guys today. Enjoy it while I'm on the road coming to see you.
We're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Live from Joe's mom's basement, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor Doug, and today, with summer vacation looming in the shadows like the dark specter of childcare that it is, we're discussing all things kids and money with 3 experts on the subject. First, we have, from the golden age of Hollywood and with a beautiful tenor voice, the host of the Art of Allowance podcast, it's Mario Lanza. Unbelievable! Plus, high school finance teacher and the fire community's top kids and money educator, Rob Phelan. And finally, founder of the Wealthy Kids Investment Club. I got to get to know those kids. It's Maya Cobic. But that's not all. Halfway through the show, I'll share my toothy trivia question. And now, a guy who sprinkles a little magic into every episode. Why do they make me say this stuff? It's Joe Saul-Sehy.
Oh, that might be Lisa's best one yet, Doug.
Not a fan.
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the show. I am Joe Saul-Sehy, Average Joe Money on Twitter or X or wherever you are. And super happy you're here with us. Today's roundtable discussion is brought to you by State Farm. State Farm knows your business is your life. State Farm agents are small business owners too, so they know what it takes. They can help you create a personalized insurance plan that fits your small business needs and budget. Small business insurance from State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Talk to your local agent today. And Doug, summer vacation. I love it, Doug, when at the team meeting you ask when summer vacation starts for our staff. Every year.
There's one coming, isn't there?
No, unfortunately, we work all the way through the summer. I apologize for that, but that ended after high school. Let's say hello to these wonderful people who are going to help us today. First of all, you said Mario, but it's his better known brother, John Lanza, who's here with us today. How are you, John?
I'm very good. I will spare you my opera rendition, but I wish I had Mario's voice, but I don't.
Well, for people who we'll forget about Mario for a second, let's go with this character, John. Tell us about the Art of Allowance podcast, because you've got a great podcast talking about some of the topics we're talking about today.
Thanks. I love to interview parents. I love to interview money experts, and often both. Joe, you've been on the podcast, and we had a lot of fun. Really, the whole idea is to just grab ideas that parents can then kind of grab onto for their different systems, and everybody's got great ideas. You had some really cool ideas like your circle back technique. Maybe we'll even talk about that later today. But the whole idea is to provide parents with the opportunity to have little tips and techniques that they can use to help them raise money smart kids.
And it's available wherever finer podcasts are available.
That is true.
And she is the woman behind the hit book From Piggy Banks to Stocks. Maya Cobic is here. Maya, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You and I met at FinCon. I was so happy that I got to meet you there. Tell everybody about the work you do.
I'm a CPA, and I've been helping parents teach kids about money for the past 12 years. I wrote the book, From Piggy Banks to Stocks, The Ultimate Guide for a Young Investor. It's actually a book that I wish I had when I was a kid. It's written in a language that a 10-year-old can understand. My goal is to help parents obviously teach kids about money, but one big question that I often get is how to teach them about investing. So lately I've been focusing a lot on that, because a lot of us know that we have to invest, but we don't know how or where to start or how to teach our kids. So that's kind of how the book came about, as well as my Wealthy Kids Investment Club.
Well, I can't wait to talk about kids and investing as part of our curriculum, summer curriculum here today. And I'm super glad you're with us. And rounding out our panel, this guy not only is interested in kids and money, he's created an entire curriculum for kids and money, in his spare time when he's not teaching and when he's not writing his book. M is for Money. Rob Phelan's here. How are you, man?
Hey, guys. I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well,
you missed the segue there on curriculum. I was waiting for you to jump on it. Then you said it a second time. Like, what? You're getting slow, Joe. Come on.
I know. So tell everybody about your work, Rob, because you're a busy man.
I try not to be. That's the goal, is to not be busy. But it always seems to end up being that way. So I am a high school math and personal finance teacher in Maryland. I run my own business called Educator, where I help teachers get high quality resources that help make personal finance a fun, engaging, and exciting topic in school. That aim of getting kids really excited about learning about money and really just kind of getting a grasp on how they can manage their own wealth in the future. I have published a children's book in the past called M is for Money. This is for 3 to 8-year-olds to help them learn basic money words and start conversations at home about money. And I have a little bit of entrepreneurship stuff going on as well. I love talking about entrepreneurship for teens.
As you can see, Doug, these guys know nothing about kids and money.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Next time, we'll get a better, more qualified group next time.
We're going to have a great panel today diving into all these topics. But first, the reason we can make this for free is we've got some great sponsors. Hang out with us for just a couple minutes and say hello to these wonderful sponsors who keep the show free for us. Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. They're for those all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken, the times you're deep in your flow and can't be interrupted by an auto update. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to you. Built with long-lasting batteries so you're not scrambling for an outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you. In business, there is no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. And when you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, The last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on, because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else, your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS Ground Advantage. We mean business. All right, we've got John Lanza here, Rob Phelan, Maya Cobic. So let's get this party started. Normally, we begin our shows with a piece that we operate around, something from the popular press. But you know what, guys? I didn't think we need to do that today. I think what we need is we really need to set the stage about kids and money and about why this is so important. John, with your Money Mammals whole brand and all the stuff you do, why do you think it's so important to teach kids good money habits at a young age?
Well, the thing about kids is they're going to learn about money and be exposed to money, age 1 or 2, right? And that's why really this is all about starting an open, honest conversation with them. That's going to go from the age you first begin, like I said, could be 1 or 2, till it's probably never going to end. It's going to be a lifelong conversation, this open conversation you want to have about money. And you really want to engage them early. And this simple topics, we're not talking about compound interest for a 2-year-old. We're just talking about, keep that money out of your mouth, or, how to engage in a transaction when you're a parent, right? It's just, these are very simple things. The other great thing about starting early is that as a parent, any baggage you have, you can kind of just put that aside and just kind of focus on the simple conversations. What are the denominations? How do I use money to spend? When I go into the store, give them a little bit of money and they can have a little bit of fun buying something there. They learn how money gets exchanged. What you're really doing is building up in them the language of money. It's the same way we read to our kids from a young age, even though they can't necessarily read back to us at a very young age. You're providing the building blocks for the money conversation that is going to kind of take off as they get to be 5 and 10 and 15 and beyond.
Maya, did you get much of a money education growing up?
No, I didn't. But I did. It wasn't formal education. It was more watching my parents, how they handled money. So there were a lot of good things that I learned. There were some things that I didn't learn, like investing and management of credit cards and debt. I am an immigrant. I'm a first generation immigrant. So when we immigrated, I watched my mom stretch that dollar. Like she budgeted, she cooked, she did whatever she needed to make sure that we can make ends meet.
Rob, how about you? Much of a money education as a kid?
I don't think I swallowed any quarters, so I must have gotten something from John's lessons.
The taste of silver is fantastic.
That dirty, greasy penny. I mean, nothing better. No, I don't think I got a ton. It's kind of like what Maya said, a lot of observing what my parents were doing. Money was not a dinner table conversation topic in my household, really. You mind your own business when it comes to asking about household finances. And then when you started having your own money from birthdays or holidays, whatever it was kind of yours to spend and do what you want with. And I don't remember getting much formal education other than probably being forced to save a little bit of it, like put some of it into a bank account. My earliest money memory is like opening a bank account, having a little like passport book thing and writing in my balance each time when I took money in or took money out. But yeah, nothing more formal than that until I probably got into high school.
Well, let's help our parents in the audience do a little better then, Rob. Let's stick with you. If we're thinking about summer vacation, let's talk about some of the opportunities you have with kids. Where do you start?
What we really want with kids is we want to start letting them become comfortable talking about money. We want to build this mindset and this culture that it's okay to talk about this. It's not embarrassing. It's not a taboo topic. It's not something that should be off the table. And summer usually represents a time for a lot of families to maybe spend a little bit more time with each other. We're not in full-time school. Maybe we get reduced hours in our job or we don't, but at least everyone's kind of around each other a little bit more. And maybe there is more opportunity for this. As John mentioned, you're going to be introduced to money really early. I have a 4-year-old. I take him into a store. He tells me he wants things. And it didn't take very long for that to happen. Like he very quickly was like, oh, this is right here. I want this. Why can't I take it? And introducing that idea of trading, that money is something that we trade for the things that we want. And also that we can't have everything we want and need. It's one of my favorite sayings from Paula is that like you can afford anything, but not everything. And trying to communicate that to kids from a very young age is really what I think this summer presents a great opportunity for. And that could be through the books that you read, the activities that you do, the places that you go. There's so many different ways to teach kids about money that just exist in our lives every day.
Yeah, I want to start off with, you broached the topic of these open conversations and it's okay to talk about money. Maya, I saw you nodding your head. I guess you're on that train.
No, I am. And I actually just wanted to mention about vacation. Like one thing that we do with our kids, and we've been doing it for many years, is we actually use vacation as an opportunity to teach them about money. So if we go somewhere, we give them a small allowance for that vacation and we tell them, this is yours to spend on this vacation. Do not ask for any more money. Do not beg. It's yours to manage, and you can spend it all up front or you can bring it back home. It's entirely up to you, but take your time, pace yourself. And it's been a great learning opportunity because when we are on vacation, we would be discussing like, what are they going to do with that money and how are they going to spend it and why are they making the choices that they're making? And then once they spend it, when we come back home, it's usually like, did you make a good choice? Was that the right way of doing things?
Maya, do you ever take them to the casino and let them try to double the money that you allot to them? I mean, that'd be a great lesson.
I think that's the next step.
That's right.
Can I jump in on, I just want to underscore what Maya's talking about. The key thing here with the allowance or with any kind of money is being purposeful with it, right? So hers is kind of like this mini targeted allowance that's happening during the vacation. But the key thing is that then it's now their money. Right. And now that opens up a conversation naturally because there's going to be some stuff they're going to run into and want and not be able to get. Right. In which case, you can set a goal that may be there may not be enough time for a vacation, but it's that purposefulness. It's that why that Maya's talking about, which is so important because I think a lot of parents have some difficulty with the term allowance. Right. They want to get over the hump that I'm just giving my kid something. And if you don't have a purpose to it, without a doubt, it is a handout. But if you are purposeful with it, right, and the whole goal is to give our kids experience with money, which is what Maya's talking about, then it becomes something that's very valuable to you and to them.
How old are your kids, Maya?
So I have a 16 and a 15-year-old.
It's funny because your plan there worked really well for us at Disney. And Rob, to your point, at the store, my kids, my twins now 28, but when they were 7, 8, 9 years old, always wanted stuff. And especially Disney, every ride ends in a gift shop, right? We get done with the experience and I want this, I want this. So Maya, we gave our kids an allowance every day and said, you can either save this for all the days of the vacation and buy something big on the last day. You can spend it every day or you can take it home. And it was great because we got off the ride and there was no more, can I have at the end of the ride? It was, yes, you can. Or no, my daughter on day one blew the entire amount of money after ride number 1. Day number 2, she got really smart and the money lasted till the end of the day. My son didn't spend a nickel the entire time that we were on vacation, brought the whole thing home, brought the entire thing back home with him. But it was great. And I love the way that you talk about circling back, circling back and going, was that a good decision?
Yeah. And I find that really interesting because both of your children chose different paths when it comes to money. And you can see the progression in terms of learning for your daughter. But I find that kids have different money personalities too, which, when we give them that allowance to manage, we learn about their money personalities so that we can hopefully direct them in the positive direction, I guess, when it comes to that money. So, if I have one child that's more of a spender and another one is more of a saver. So my son is kind of like your son. He would probably bring more money home. But, with both of them, our approach shifts a little bit. It's different and it's tailored towards each child. And the conversations are a little bit different too.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. My son and my daughter as twins, you'd think they'd be closer to this polar opposites. My daughter's like me, will blow any dollar that ever enters her wallet. My son, even my son is an engineer for Microsoft, has 14 rental properties, and is still always happy to have me pay for everything every time he comes home. Every single time. It is incredible how almost 30-year-old still is the same that he was at 8. Rob, I do want to get back, though, to this idea of open conversations because it begs this question, not just this summer, but whenever you're talking about money with your family, how open is open? Are you including them in the bill paying? Are you telling them what your net worth is? Are you talking about hard numbers?
So it's one of those, we want to have age appropriate conversations. And one of the best things that I think we can do is let our kids see us having these money conversations, these money moments. So if you are sitting down to write a paper check, I don't know that many people that do this still anymore, but if you are, let them look at it, let them see what you're doing and what happens to this paper check. What does that represent? If you're having a monthly budget meeting or a weekly one or whatever you do with your spouse, if you have one, that's a great one to just let your kids be a part of. Like, hey, we're talking about how we're going to spend our money this week or this month. Do you have anything you want to spend money on? And you invite them to be part of that conversation. But you make it very clear that we're intentional with how we spend our money. We don't just walk into a store and buy whatever we feel like. So he goes grocery shopping with me every single weekend. And I have yet to have a tantrum that was due to him wanting something from the shelf. We have tantrums for other reasons, but not for that particular reason, which is great because he understands when we go in, there's a list, there's an order that we're going to get things in. We're not pulling things off at random. It stops me from buying a ton of crap too, though, I will say. Like, it's great for keeping me accountable. That's kind of what we want our kids to do. We want to get involved in their play. Like, if you see them starting to play a game that has money involved, get down on the floor and play with them. And that's all you have to do is just kind of let them explore how money works through their play and just be part of that conversation. If they have questions, ask about it or role play what you need to do. But it's very easy. It's not you don't have to be super purposeful about having these conversations. They come up all the time.
But John, how open do you get?
It's really a personal conversation. I feel like one of the easier places to do this is if you've set up, this is one of the things we did with our kids, if you've set up a 529 for them for college, then that's a great place to talk to them so they can see how it's growing over time. They get a sense of they can start comparing and contrasting colleges. Because I remember having a conversation, and in the back seat were two kids. We live in Los Angeles. So they're talking about USC and UCLA. And they're comparing the two and back and forth, Trojans, Bruins. And I said, one big difference between USC and UCLA is the price. So we got to keep that in mind. However, whatever quality those schools are, one is double the price of the other. Now, I don't mean to be knocking
we're Bruins fans in our house.
Exactly. But I had to step in just because we had started that 529 conversation. And I think it's important for them to see, because then they realize that there is a school that is going to cost double the price. We're only going to have a certain amount left, and you're going to end up having to take out a certain amount of loans in order to go to that school, whereas we've got it covered if you go to the state school. So that's the 529 is a good place to start there. In terms of kind of the overall being super transparent about it, I mean, that's such a just personal discussion. Like, we didn't sit down with our kids and go through all the dollars and cents that we have.
Yeah. Kind of for all of you, like if they ask, how much does mom or dad make? How do you answer that question?
I actually get that question a lot when I do workshops from parents. And my answer to that has always been, why do you want to know? And the reason why I ask that is because I need to ask them why they're asking that so that I can formulate my answer back to them. Sometimes they're asking because maybe they're scared. They heard the economy is tanking and they don't know if we're going to be able to make our mortgage payments. Sometimes they're asking because they're comparing themselves to their friend who is, going on all these vacations or can buy shoes that maybe they don't have. It's all about like why they're asking. And then once I understand that, then I can actually formulate the right answer.
When we talk about money and kids, I'm wondering if you guys have a favorite game. Rob, you mentioned games, right? Getting on the floor and playing a game with them. Any great money game that you really like playing with kids that kind of teaches them about money, Rob?
For the younger kids, I think they like playing grocery store. We have one of those little kid Fisher-Price cash registers in our house, and we have some play food around, and he will ask us to make a list, and he goes and puts the items into his little cart, wheels it over, we check him out, and he pays with some fake play money that we have. And I think that's a wonderful way to do it. As kids get older, I really love Monopoly. Monopoly is my favorite money game, and I use it in my high school classes all the time.
I like starting fights.
I have yet to have a fight in my classroom. I have 12 different ways that I play Monopoly with the students that, finishes within a class period. So you don't get to that fourth hour where everyone's like really dragging and they're like, whatever, and flips the board.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to tie money lessons into it. If you just kind of think about the Monopoly as a medium for having money conversations. So like, are we tracking cash flow? Are we going to talk about investing? Are we going to talk about insurance? Like tomorrow we're going to play Monopoly and we're going to do an insurance Monopoly, which is really fun, which I think we talked about once. You were like one of the brainstorm OG people for that.
Nothing gets Joe to judge somebody faster than their thoughts on Monopoly. So I don't know if you caught it, Rob, but I was looking at his face when you said Monopoly. You got a hole to dig out of, man.
I think he's going to be just fine. Maya, how about you? Games?
I tend not to play Monopoly with my husband because that ends up being bad. He is very competitive. And even when our kids were little, like he did not care whether or not they lose. And so we don't play that as often in our family, but I like playing Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki. I know that a lot of people find that a little bit confusing and hard to explain to kids, but I find that with us, because it's kind of 2 on 2, we only have 2 kids. So it's like my husband can help one child, I can help the other child to understand how that game works and what the purpose is, which is to get out of the rat race. So I really, really enjoy that. And I find that it helps them think a little bit differently about money.
John, how about you?
Did you guys ever play the Game of Life? That was definitely a Gen X game, right? And
if you didn't bring it up, I was going to bring this one up. Yeah,
you didn't want to end up as a philosopher, poor and broke, and this talk about a judgmental game. Either be a doctor, a lawyer, or a philosopher. I forget what the other things you could be. And it was all the spin of that. That was a super fun game to play. And then you'd have your family with those little pieces that you'd put into your car. But funny enough, we're a board game family. So we do a lot of kind of resource allocations like Catan and Ticket to Ride. Now, my kids are now 21 and 18, and they're a little less interested in these games than they were back when I was, when their kids weren't the most important center of their universe. But we played a lot of those games, but we played some Monopoly. But I know on the podcast, when we talked, Joe, you said Monopoly Junior is really one of your favorite games to help teach kids about money, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, no, Monopoly Junior was a really good one for my kids. Just the idea that the piece of paper that had a 3 on it versus the one that had a 2 on it versus the one that had a 1 on it was like a big aha for my kids. Because when we first went to that game, they were like, well, I'll just give you one of these. I'm like, well, no, that little symbol on there means something. I remember my kids at Rob, maybe at 4 years old, were like, he's
playing Monopoly Junior right now, and it's like really helping that basic math concept, the idea of things having different values, even though they kind of look the same. So like money is this placeholder for what I guess a dollar truly is.
Yeah, super good. We're going to get more into tactics. We're going to talk about investing in the second half of the show. But at the halfway point, we have this year-long competition between our frequent contributors, which are Paula Pant, OG, and my mom, who never likes to play, and she always has somebody sit in for her. So, Maya, you'll play on behalf of Paula. Rob, I believe we agreed backstage that you play on behalf of OG. John, you're going to play for Mom. Did we do it that way? Is that what we said? Yes. That means, John, you've got some good news and some bad news. Would you like the good news or the bad news?
I'll take the bad news first.
Well, the bad news is that Mom stepped in to play for Len Penzo, who unfortunately had to leave our show as a frequent contributor, and he was first place, which means that you're going to have to guess first. But that also is the good news, is that you are in this year a 3-way tie for first. Mom has 4. OG has 4, Paula has 4, which means, by the way, Maya, good news for you, because Paula, who is otherwise brilliant, is always in last place in our trivia. You get to guess last. So Rob's going to go in the middle. So that's the way we play, everybody. But we need a question. Doug, you said you had some toothy trivia. What's going on?
Hey there, stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. I ran into one of the neighborhood kids, Dylan, at the dentist today, and he was being so mean to me for no reason. First, he tried to make fun of me for reading Highlights magazine. Magazine's awesome.
Cool.
He said it's for babies, which is not. Kept my cool for a really long time, but after a while, I finally threatened to tell him the tooth fairy. Tell on him. I didn't know if she even takes comments like Santa does, but I think anyone giving him money ought to know what kind of jerk that kid is. The whole conversation left me so flustered I accidentally left the office with their Highlights magazine. Kind of a goofus move. Today's trivia question is, according to Delta Dental, how much is the average tooth fairy payout for one tooth? I'll be back right after I finish finding everything in the hidden pictures puzzle. God, I love Highlights.
Oh, I like this. Delta Dental just released the new number, which was a little bit surprising. So let's start off then. John, you've got the first guess. With kids your kids' age, you might be a little bit beyond the Tooth Fairy, John.
We might be. I hope we are. I'm going to do my best gallant here and try to get this right. And I will apologize to your mom right now if I get it wrong. I actually read this and I cannot remember it. I'm pretty sure I read this number. You gave me a hint. You said it was surprising. So I'm going to go with like $5.50 a tooth.
$5.50 is John's answer. Rob, what do you think? Is that high or low?
I think he's probably pretty close to it. I don't know who's driving inflation here because, I get it with Christmas. I get it with other stuff where you have companies driving inflation. Everyone wants you to spend more. Who is driving the inflation on the Tooth Fairy? Why are we not still doing quarters, people? So my son saw a book recently. It was like a Pete the Cat book, and they were doing quarters. I'm like, great. If you think it's a quarter, that's awesome. Let's keep it that way. I am going to guess that it is $4.75.
$4.75. So Maya, there they are. $5.50 from John, $4.75 from Rob. What are you thinking?
Oh, I think John is right there. I would say $5.25.
She splits the uprights, goes right between them at $5.25. All right, those are our guesses. Let's see who is right in just a moment.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
What would you do if your online store converted 36% more shoppers? You could take 36% more vacation.
Another pina colada?
Yes, please.
Open a new retail location with 36% more square feet.
Fantastic.
Hire 36% more help.
You're hired and you're hired.
Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other e-commerce platforms. What you do with those extra sales is up to you. Switch to Shopify today at shopify.com/listen and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/listen.
Did you know Fast Growing Trees is America's largest and most trusted online nursery with thousands of trees and plants and over 2 million happy customers? Whether you're planting fruit trees, adding privacy, brightening things up with flowers, or bringing in houseplants, Fast Growing Trees has it all. Even better, they can help you find options that are right for your climate, your space, and lifestyle. Click Order Grow. Every plant arrives healthy with the Alive and Thrive guarantee straight to your door. So if you're ready to get planting, this is the moment. Right now, they have great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. And listeners to our show get 20% off their first purchase when using the code WWO at checkout. That's an additional 20% off. Better plants and better growing at fastgrowingtrees.com using the code WWO at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code WWO. Now's the perfect time to plant. Let's grow together. Use WWO to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to growingfasttrees.com for details.
All right, John, you set the bar initially by saying $5.50. Once you heard Rob and Maya, who came in below you, what do you think? You feeling good or not?
I'm feeling okay. I may have anchored them, but we'll see what happens. I'm just glad Maya didn't go with 551 and pull the prices right on me.
That's exactly what I thought she was going to do. Yeah. We'll get back to Rob. Maya, how come you didn't go 551? Are you too nice for that?
No, I actually, I did a survey of the parents on my Instagram page before, and I was surprised some people still give $2. Nobody gives quarters, Rob, anymore. They would have to pull all the kids' teeth out in order to actually, afford something with the money that they get from the Tooth Fairy. So I got a lot of $2 ones. $5 was most common. Some people give more than that from what I found. So I just thought if you're averaging it out, probably I would say $5, but Rob was kind of right below it. So that's why I went with $5.25.
Well, and Rob, you had the low guess at $4.75. Is that based on your quarter comment? Is that wishful thinking? You trying to keep that inflation down?
I don't know, but clearly I don't understand how to play this game. I should have just said a cent, and then I had a much wider window. No, actually, I think it's going to shock us now. And now I'm like, it's probably going to be closer to $20. Something ridiculous is going to pop here. Some parent is paying like $1,000 a tooth, and that's driving the average up for all the rest of us.
Well, let's see what it is. Doug, who's taking home the championship today?
Hey there, Stackers. I'm avid highlights reader and guy who's finally got all of his adult teeth, not to brag, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. Today's trivia question is, according to Delta Dental, how much is the average tooth fairy payout for one tooth? The answer? Us mere mortals aren't the only ones affected by changing economic conditions. Even ethereal beings feel the effects of inflation and deflation. According to Delta Dental, the average payout from the tooth fairy in 2023 was $6.23 per tooth. But so far in 2024, kids have seen a 6% drop, with payouts per tooth averaging only, I'm not going to tell you that, but I will tell you it's $1.09 more than what Rob said, and 59 cents more than what Maya said, and just 34 cents more than what John said, because the average payout per tooth now is $5.84, making John our winner.
Nice job, John, playing on behalf of Mom for the first time. So Mom's first appearance and your first time. Would you like to give a speech?
I would. I want to just thank Maya for not going to 551. I appreciate it. And I just want to thank your mom for being your mom and giving me the opportunity to compete in this wonderful competition. Thank you. And for the record, we would pay $1 to our kids for each tooth. The problem was we would go to bed and forget about the tooth. It took, I think, for one of my kids, it took like 2 weeks for her to get one of her teeth paid for. Talk about bad parents.
And we'll get a my bad from the tooth fairy?
Or a little interest thrown in there or something.
Like, oh, yeah, they must have forgotten. I guess the tooth fairy had too much wine.
Tooth fairy got cut up at Yellowstone. Forgot about it. Time for the second half of this podcast. Second half brought to you by depositaccounts.com. Rob, you know what happens when you go to depositaccounts.com?
I'm guessing you look at deposit accounts.
You do. You find out that those brick and mortar savings and checking accounts that you have, that those are probably not best in class. At depositaccounts.com by LendingTree, you can compare more than 275,000 deposit rates from over 11,000 banks and credit unions, all for free. And I just pulled it up. And of course, you're going to want to check yourself because we record this a few days before it goes live. If you have a national average savings account, you're earning 0.51%. But according to deposit accounts, if you're in the top 1% of all savings accounts, 4.92, almost 5%. Money market accounts, top 1%, 4.81, national average, 0.87. You can compare Ditch, Switch, and Save at depositaccounts.com. Get that money working for you a little bit. And by the way, why do you guys think the Tooth Fairy's taking it on the chin this year? Down 6%. Anybody have a theory? Maya, you're the CPA. What do you think? Maybe some deflationary pressure on the...
I was going to say, yeah, I think it's the economy. It's, parents are cutting back, so they're cutting back on the tooth fairy money.
Yeah.
I heard that kids want to be paid in Robux instead of dollars, so the exchange rate's way better for parents right now.
When you said Roblox, I thought you were going to say blockchain. Kids want to be paid in blockchain now.
That wouldn't work, would it?
Yeah, no, that'd be a whole different one. You know what, though? And I meant to just crack that as a joke, but let's start there here in the second half, guys. Investing and saving. Rob, you made a great point during the first half, which was around the idea that you got this passbook, right? And you put your money in the passbook, but we also had paper money. Your kids not growing up in that type of a place. I mean, you pull out plastic when you spend money. Your investments are all electronic. How do you teach kids about the differences in numbers and the importance of money when it's all electronically done?
I think, especially if you're starting at the younger ages, you keep everything physical to start with. So you start with physical money. My son's allowance is single dollar bills, so he can count them very easily. He can see how much he has. He has a spend, save, and give container box. It's one of those, Benji box from Benjamin Talks, I think is the name of the company. Okay. Love it. It's a clear container one so you can see how much is in there. Until he is older, I think, and has really mastered physical money, we're not going to venture into the digital stuff just yet. I love the apps that are out there. I think they're really cool for doing allowances in families, but we're not ready yet at 4. I think that's something that's going to come a little bit later. So I'm guessing the other two probably have some more insight on this one than I do.
Yeah, Maya, the piggy bank is great, but the kid sees you at the store and you've got plastic. I mean, I remember my kid saying, hey, I know you said you don't have any money, but you got that plastic thing. Why don't we just put that through and get some more?
Yeah, you know what? It's actually really interesting because when I was doing my workshops in schools, I noticed that a lot of kids actually think that just because you have that plastic card, that you have a limited amount of money on it, or if you go to an ATM machine, that machine just gives you money. So a lot of them, even some parents would tell me, like, my child is just asking, like, why don't you just go to an ATM machine and pull the money out? So it's important to explain how the money gets into that ATM machine and how it's actually linked to an account. And I like to explain to the kids that these accounts in the banks are kind of like a giant piggy bank that like holds the money, and everybody kind of has their own account or their own piggy bank. But where I found the kids got really, really confused, and I would say up to grade 2, it was when I would ask them, okay, so now let's say we spent all the money from the account, you paid with your, let's say, bank card. So there's no more money in the account. What was confusing to them was, where does the money come from? And it was so interesting because I was like, well, think about it. Like, what do your parents do every day? Like, where do they go? And like, I would be teaching, let's say, a class of 30 kids, and there would be like one kid maybe that would like link the fact that their parent goes to work and that's where the money comes from. It's actually deposited into the account. So like Rob, I really like the idea of actually teaching them with the actual cash, with coins and bills, and then slowly, when they're old enough, switching to the online banking.
Then to the plastic stuff.
Yeah.
And even as a household, like, you could go into like an envelope system for a little bit so they can see the physical cash of the household and how it gets spent, and then kind of explain, okay, now we're going to put into the bank and just spend that. So they've seen the stack of ones for your salary and how it gets allocated. Like, that could be a really cool thing to do.
How do you guys do that with credit, with kids using credit? And I guess this is probably more of a junior high school age conversation. John, what do you think about kids and credit?
We've gotten our kids credit cards now that they're 18 and over. But before that, we just focused on the debit card so that we could kind of track their expenses. And there's plenty of those kind of on the market where you can track their expenses. I agree with both Maya and with Rob about the idea that you should start with cash because, one, there is research that shows it's harder for kids to kind of part with cash, but 2, just learning how transactions are going and giving dollars and getting dollars back, getting change back, and then switching over to the digital side. But there is a case to be made for doing digital young. I mean, I was talking to one of my podcast guests, and she has her kids at 7 years old and 5 years old on a card. She's doing that because she wants to make sure that she has consistent allowance given to them. And she's very on top of that allowance system. So I still think for us, that's what we did was cash, and I would still do that and then transition around tween to the idea of a debit card. But I don't think you really have to get into a credit card until they're kind of 18 or over.
But just on the apps, I think like what most apps are doing to compensate for the lack of physical money is they have to make the app very visual for kids. There has to be like large numbers or even pictures of how much is in the account or how it's moving from place to place. So it kind of simulates that physical act of money. Or if you can't have that, maybe having a chart up on the fridge or one of those family money ladders where you can actually physically move your little token up and down to match how much you have so the kids can see it. That I think at least would replicate the physical money in some way if you are going to go digital.
Just the more tangible appearance, you're saying, Rob, the fact that you can see it better.
I mean, even adults do that. Like, how many of us have made a savings chart? Or when you were doing your debt pay down, like you made a debt pay down chart because you just wanted to see some physical progress. It's the same thing. We like visual representations of what we're doing. Like, money in a bank or on a credit card is very abstract. It's hard to imagine. That's why we spend it so easily.
It gamifies it a little bit, which makes it easier to grasp onto.
I want to get back something about the debt before you move on.
Yeah, well, no, that's exactly what I want to get back to, because I do want to get kids and credit cards. Like, when do you start introducing them to credit before they go off on their own and blow out their credit immediately, like I did?
I wish I had the person who shared the story with me, but it was a really great story. And it was, what they did was they purposefully introduced debt to their kids, but they kept it within like the bank of mom and dad. So they waited for their kids to ask them for something that was more than what they had. And instead of saying, no, you have to save for it, they allowed them to take a loan from the parents. So they said, okay, yeah, you can buy this thing. It's $100. You have 50. That means you're going to borrow 50 from me. We're going to create a debt payment contract. So now every time you get allowance, 20% of that's going to come to me until the debt is paid off. And you just, within the space of your family, you start creating, again, more practice opportunities, which is what allowance is all about in the first place. And you let them do it in the safety of your home so that they're not messing around with a credit card for the first time when they start dealing with debt.
Your kids are in this age range right now, 16, 18. What are you doing with credit cards?
Yeah, so actually there's like two things I want to mention with regards to that. When our daughter was little, she actually started doing what Rob was just mentioning, but it just naturally happened. She ran out of money. She needed, $2. It's like, hey, can I borrow $2? And then the next time it's like, oh, I still ran out of money. Can I borrow more money? And it just became, I think I started getting very concerned because it became a habit. I think that because we were so busy, and I think all parents are, we were really not keeping up on top of her, like to give us that money back or pay back an interest. So at one point we were like, okay, you have to pay all of that back. And I think we gave her, it was such a long time ago, she was very little, but I think we gave her certain things she had to do to pay back or whatever. And it just did not work for us. That doesn't mean that it will not work for other people, but I really got scared because she just got into this habit of borrowing and it became natural. And then because she couldn't borrow from us, she asked her brother to borrow money from him. He actually did lend her some money. And again, I think but he was merciless. Like he made her do whatever she was supposed to do. I don't know if it was empty out the dishwasher for him or something like that.
Kid's a loan shark.
Yeah. 100%. My son is like, Joe, when you describe your son, I'm like, that sounds like my son. I think he's going to be like that at 30.
It's not good.
But the thing is, when it comes to credit cards, I find it absolutely crazy that we don't spend time to teach our kids about credit cards until the age of 18. And at that time, most of them have moved away from home and we have very little control over them. All of a sudden, it's like a knife, right? Like credit card can be used for good and bad. And you're giving them this tool, this potentially harmful tool, but we haven't educated them. So with my own kids, what I have done is I've added them on as authorized users. Now, I'm located in Canada, but you guys in the US, if you have a really, really good credit rating, you can add them on as authorized users and they can actually, they end up having your credit rating by the time they're 18, which is amazing. You're building their credit rating. But the idea is, the reason why I added my kids on as authorized users, I gave them a small limit that they can spend on credit card. And we go through the credit card statements together. And, I show them to pay it off in full by the end of each month. I'm trying to teach them how to manage that credit properly. And I'm explaining to them that credit is so important to maintain because one day they're going to need it to buy their first car or home or whatever.
John, how did you handle this?
Well, I have to give my credit to the real OG on our side, which is the OG money mammal, my wife. She set up exactly what Maya did. So both of our kids, their first credit cards were as authorized users, and that's a great way to go. The nice part about the debit card is you kind of get into the habit of going over the expenses that your kids are making on their debit cards. And that's really a very important thing. And so as a parent, because I think one of the key things for all of this is that everything we're talking about here is just a tool, right? So we have to be their guides on this money smart journey. And we can't, and I don't think that's going to end. Once they get jobs, we're going to be the ones who want to remind them about, matching to the extent that they have a job where their employer will match their 401k. We want to make sure that when they put their money into that 401k, that it's not just sitting in a 401k, but it's actually in investments. So this is an ongoing thing as they become grownups. But these are just tools. And I think what Maya said is a great way to go about the credit card side of things. And then they will have had experience with plastic, with the debit cards. The nice part is now so many kids have these debit cards. That conversation actually kind of come from the kid. They'll come back and say, oh, my friend has this debit card. Can we talk about having a debit card? And then you can open up that discussion. And again, that gets back to the importance of having started this discussion from a young age. It's just early, because this is a simple example, but like our daughter lost her credit card and lost her debit card, and there's no worry that we're going to be judging her about it. She's immediately like, can you close it? Can you shut it down for me until I find it? That gets to this key point here, which Maya made, which is we don't want our kids going off and using plastic with no experience. And the earlier we can start that, not necessarily with plastic, but earlier we start conversation and then have a guided on-ramp or onboarding into plastic, fantastic. That's what we do as our guides for our kids on this journey.
I think it also goes back to Rob's opening comment during this entire discussion about having these open conversations in the beginning, and then there is no shame. There's, hey, people mess up, things happen, and we just go take care of it. Where I feel like if we've got a lot of shame around the discussion, or we don't talk about money, then we try to hide stuff, and it gets, that always works. Hiding it always makes it better. As I found out. That was sarcasm, people, by the way, if you didn't get that. Last question that I have for all of you today is this. When you're talking about investing, I loved in high school, I loved that we would track some stocks in my economics class, and we would go and we'd pick a few and follow them for one semester, which certainly isn't, long enough to judge whether you made a good pick or not. But it was neat to see the ups and downs and to realize that some stocks pay dividends, some don't. And the fact that the things that you buy, actually, you can own those companies. But on the other side, a lot of us know that gives you a little bit of a gambling mentality. Back to Doug's joke earlier about just taking him to the roulette wheel at the casino. Do we start off with indexing? Do we start off with the index fund, which is where we kind of hope that they end up, and broader diversification? Or do we start off with, hey, you can own the companies that you love? Let's go right to the CPA here for this one first. Maya, where do you start?
So I'm of the opinion to start off with basics. And that's kind of like what I did in my book. I explained that, yes, you don't need to only be a consumer. You can be the owner. So, taking Apple, for example, you don't only have to use Apple products. You can own Apple. I also like to remind them that investing is not gambling. If you want excitement, look elsewhere. I think after we teach them the basics of what stocks are, how stock market works, I prefer to teach them about investing in index funds, because then I can tell, I also tell them, when you buy one share, let's say of ETF, or if you buy an index fund, let's say of S&P 500, you're buying essentially, you're becoming an owner of 500 largest companies. So that will include Apple. It will include Nike and some of these other companies that you're interested in. So I think it's a better way to go. You're still owning these companies, but you're taking out the highs and lows, or, it's not as risky.
Rob, you're working with high schoolers on this. Where do you start?
Oh man, it's hard because you want to encourage the excitement and interest that they have, with also like tempering it down in terms of, we don't want a gambling mentality about this. When I teach investing, we'll start by talking about how the stock market works, what it is, why it came about. So this idea of companies seeking public funding to allow them to grow faster, and in exchange, you own part of the company. And we'll play the stock market game. So we'll do a stock market simulation. They are basically trying to day trade because they're trying to increase the value of their portfolio as much as possible in 10 weeks, which we know is not a good way to invest. But at the end, we get to say, well, 5 of the 30 of you actually made money. The rest of you all lost money. Is that a coincidence? Probably not. There's some other wonderful simulations out there. So particularly for parents, if you're listening, free ones that you can do. There's one called Build Your Stacks, and that's stax.com. That's a 20-year investing simulation based on real stock market data, and you can actually play with it. You can do it as a group. You can do it as a family. And there's a computer that will play each time you do it, and the computer will only invest in 100% index funds. And you play enough times, you realize the computer wins 9 times out of 10. There are individual stocks available. There are bonds. There are other commodities you can invest in, but the index fund seems to always come out ahead, and not coincidentally, like that seems to be what happens. Jeremy over at Personal Finance Club has a time the market simulation that you can do. So you try and time the market. So you try and buy at the right time, sell at the right time. And if you can do it 3 times in a row, you must be an investing guru, because it's impossible. So it's again some random 10-year period, and you're trying to like gauge whether it's going to go up or down at that time. And Next Gen Personal Finance has some really great resources as well for building a mini index fund. So you give kids the Dow Jones, you give them all the companies from the Dow Jones, and you show the previous year's performance. And individually wise, you'll see that there's a huge range in terms of how an individual stock may have performed in a year. Then you put them in pairs and you realize the range gets smaller, but it's now the average is more positive. And then same thing again, you keep grouping them in bigger groups and you realize, oh, the risk goes down when I group stocks into larger bunches, and my potential reward goes down, but the average reward goes up, which is kind of, I think, where my students really click with, okay, there's something to this index fund thing. And I'll usually tell them, like, if you want to go, take your shot on individual stocks, make that less than 10% of your portfolio. Let's make sure we're doing the majority of it is something solid like an index fund, and then, yeah, go play with the other bit that is not going to make or break your finances probably.
John, you're talking to people about this all the time on the podcast. Most of the experts you talk to come down where Maya and Rob are.
Yeah, it's a yes and approach, which is starting. I think the idea of starting with stocks with young kids just makes sense. A lot of times that'll be just driven by their interest in it. So I had one guest on, Samantha Paxson, and her 11-year-old came home and really wanted to get into investing. And that's, you want to take that excitement and turn it into learning. But like Rob said, you want to have kind of like a mad money account. I think that's what Jason Zweig of the Intelligent Investor calls it. So just, only a small amount of your money invested in what, you might be interested in. We did that with our kids starting at a young age. They wanted to invest in stock. We let them pick the stock. But once they got old enough, they started making money while they were working. We had them open up Roth IRAs, something that I learned from my buddy Bill DeWhite, something you've talked about, Joe. And that's really important. And then there, you can start talking about index funds and putting money and focusing on the simple fact that the key element here for you is time, starting as early as possible and letting it go as long as possible. And you've got the advantage as a kid of starting super early. And you want to get that part across and then making sure that you're consistently putting money into that account so that it builds over time. So it's a kind of yes and thing, like using those stocks and then giving them that opportunity to invest in the low fee index funds.
I love the resources all of you brought up, and I'm glad you brought up Bill DeWhite because FAMZoo and Bill, what a great contributor also to this community. Guys, thank you so much. We could obviously go for 17, 18 hours, but now what we'll do, we'll turn people over to you and your channels and to follow you. So let's start, Maya, with you. Let's talk about the book. Where can people get the book?
The book is available on Amazon as well as online for any major bookstore. So yeah, they can get it there. It's called From Piggy Banks to Stocks, The Ultimate Guide for a Young Investor.
It is an awesome read. I got to take one home from FinCon with me, and it's a wonderful resource for people. Rob, you've got tons of stuff that M is for Money. What do we want to talk about? Where do people follow you and your great work?
Well, if you're watching on YouTube with us right now, I do have a YouTube channel. So it's @FiEducator. So if you do youtube.com/@FiEducator, you'll find it. I have a lot of insights into my high school classroom there. So I record guest speakers. Joe has been one of the guest speakers in my school where I pick a personal finance topic and I bring an expert in to talk about it. So it's meant to be a resource for teachers to use in their classroom, but it would work really well at home too, especially if you want to try and help your teen have a financial education because the school is not providing one. If you want to follow me on social media, @FiEducator, FiEducator is where you'll find me on Facebook and Instagram.
And John, both of our listeners are going to love the Art of the Allowance, but you got to give us something. What's something you haven't told anybody that's coming up on the Art of the Allowance podcast that you can maybe break here on Stacking Benjamins?
Well, I have a great conversation. If you want to hear about investing, I'm talking to Evan Wilson, who was the co-host of the Money Jar podcast for a number of years, and he is a very keen investing mind. That'll be coming up in a few weeks on the Art of Allowance podcast, and you can find that at easiest place to find everything for us is themoneymammals.com, and you can find the Art of Allowance podcast. You can find the Money Mammals for young kids. All the resources are all right there.
Yeah, just fantastic resources there. We will link to all of it in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. Rob, Maya, John, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Doug, I think you got it from here, man. What should be our takeaways from today's show?
Well, Joe, here's what's stacked up on our to-do list after today's show. First, take some advice from Maya and John. Don't underestimate the power of family fights and accusations of cheating over board games to help teach your kids about money at a young age. Second, take a lesson from Rob Phelan. A great way to teach your kids about debt is by letting them borrow money from the bank of mom and dad at eye-wateringly exorbitant interest rates. That way they'll always be indebted to you and will be forced to put you up at one of those luxury old people's homes. But the big lesson? Someone should start a highlights magazines for adults. These things are amazing. No, not that kind of adult magazine. Come on. Thanks to John Lanza for joining us today. You can find his podcast, The Art of Allowance, wherever you're listening to me right now. We'll also include links in our show notes at stackingbenjamins.com. Thanks to Maya Cobic, CPA, for joining us today. You can see and hear more of Maya at her YouTube channel, Teach Kids Money TV. And also, thanks to Rob Phelan for talking all things kids and money with Joe today. You could go all 21 Jump Street and enroll in John's high school class about money, or just take the easy way out and find his book, M is for Money, wherever books are sold. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2024, and is created by Joe Salsihai. Our producer is Karen Repine. Karen and Joe get help from a few of our neighborhood friends. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.
What's wrong with you?
It's either this show or indigestion. I hope it's indigestion.
Why?
It'll get better in a little while.